start by introducing Courtney and Lisa. Courtney Tauriac is a real estate agent with Compass. She's been featured on HGTV House Hunters. She's a MetroTech's Leadership Academy graduate. She's been awarded a Modern Luxury Modern Moms Award. She's an Advocate Magazine top realtor for North Oak Cliff. And Lisa Peters is a branch manager at Caliber Home Loans. And today I just wanted to talk about what's happening in the marketplace today. I want the purpose of this discussion to kind of be the bridge between the hyperbole of what we're hearing on the news today and what's actually happening in our worlds. I know, especially with real estate, this is such a relationship and networking dependent market, and I want to get Courtney's take and Lisa's take on what's actually happening today. Courtney, can you tell us a little bit about what's it been like for you?
Well, it's been fun. It's always fun to relearn your industry and try to invent new ways to be successful and try to reach your clients' goals. And I will start by saying that Lisa has probably more accolades than anybody I know and more awards, but we didn't have all those written up. But Lisa has been in this industry for many, many years and is always my go-to person with any financial or lending questions. But as far as kind of what we're seeing just on the ground level, as far as realtors in our industry and in this marketplace, we're starting to see obviously the effects of social distancing and not being able to walk our clients through every showing. And those days of 20 showings on a Saturday, good and bad, we're not seeing those right now. So we're having to be much more inventive on how to get quality information to our clients and quality videos and photography. So of course, everyone's starting to see a lot more of the Matterport virtual tours in homes. We're also starting to see virtual open houses where people have an opportunity to call into the agent or FaceTime during that 1 hour open house and get a personalized tour and be able to get any questions answered at that time. Static videos, so a lot of beautiful photography and videography is going to be really important right now. And social media advertising, Instagram, Facebook. It was important 6 weeks ago, but today it's even more important as we're all seeing everyone spending a lot more time on their phones and in front of their computers. And people are looking for ways to escape, whether they're escaping from their 5-year-old like me often, or they're escaping from their spouses. They're wanting to get lost in a world that's beautiful and exciting. And so social media is a big part of that. And I keep telling clients, if we ever thought photography was important before, it's vital, vital, vital. Even bad photography and bad lighting can bring a Kardashian down. So we've got to make sure that everything shines and looks beautiful. And we're still doing private tours. So we are now able to resume kind of doing those private tours and small open houses if it's deemed necessary and the sellers are open to it. Of course, we're practicing social distancing procedures and wearing masks and gloves and making sure that we provide this for our clients as well. So for all those people that thought that they had to completely postpone being able to go and view and tour a home, we are able to do that now, and that's wonderful. So those are kind of the big takeaways on how we're trying to revamp, re-strategize, and market our homes.
And are you feeling any resistance from your clients? Are they unhappy about making these changes? Are they open to it? Or are they just sort of, this is the way things are now?
I think everybody's pretty much on the same page. Everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to keep their loved ones safe and healthy. And, we all want to be a part of the solution, not the problem. But then also, everybody's goal, whether you're a seller, your goal is to sell your home. So whatever you need to do to make that work and fit within today's reality, sellers are able to do it. And then buyers, they are understanding that, I'm going to have to not touch so many houses and not have that kind of experience that buyers were able to have, 2 months ago. They're going to have to be, we're going to have to be a little better about kind of honing in and kind of identifying the homes that really do offer what they need, and then figuring out ways to get them in or to get them the proper information so they feel comfortable making a move.
Okay. Well, what about you, Lisa? What are you seeing? Any major changes?
Major change. Well, as far as our company goes, we're a nationwide company, and our whole nationwide company is now working from their homes. So that has been different, but I will tell you it has been flawless. We have not skipped a beat. We had a record month last month. We are having a bigger month this month. We're going to have the biggest month in the history of our company this month. So what do we attribute that to? Low rates, low rates, and a lot of refinances, but also a lot of purchase business. And the purchase business that I have seen come through in the last 2 months have all had multiple offers. Every house has had multiple offers on it. So there is activity out there. There is a limited amount, I think Courtney can probably speak to this better than I can, but a limited amount of houses to select from. I mean, when a good one comes on, it's gone. So have you seen that too, Courtney?
Absolutely. So I would say the price point of under $1 million, that inventory is still, it's not up to the demand. So we do have low inventory currently. And so it's great news, because those are the buyers that, that really can take advantage of these low interest rates, and it increases their buying power. And so it's exciting, but we're definitely seeing an uptick. The first 3-4 weeks that we were dealing with COVID, things did get a little slow, although my team, we were still very busy, but we did have some sellers who said, I need to pull out for a few weeks, or, some buyers that said, I'm going to have to put my search on pause. But for the most part, everybody kept on rocking and rolling. And those people who needed a home for whatever life change was, that they were experiencing, they still needed a place to live, whether or not the other nuances we're experiencing occurred. So, but yeah, we are seeing multiple offers, like you were saying, Lisa, on a lot of price points, and that has been kind of a surprise, but a pleasant surprise.
And what about for your investors that you're working with that are investing in real estate? Are you seeing them still trucking along too, or are they kind of waiting to see what's going to happen?
Investors are a little bit more, they like a good opportunity and they want a good deal, right? So the way they handle situations like this, it's definitely a different response from the average owner-occupier buyer. So a lot of the investors right now, they're just looking for good deals. And I keep telling them, the market still is healthy, even though the real estate market is healthy, even though there's all these other things going on. In DFW, as far as we're concerned locally, the real estate market is not stopped, and we're not experiencing or expecting to see any major price reductions or price drops. Those are the things that investors like to take advantage of, and we're just not going to see it. And that same thing with foreclosures. Right now, we have a rapid federal economic response to what we're going through, which has been huge and such a positive, and mortgage lenders offering some forgiveness on loans and giving people time to adjust to whatever is happening in their life financially. But I think everyone's on the same consensus, whether it's, federally, and then also with our lenders. Everybody wants people to stay in their homes, and we're all working together in tandem to try to make that happen. So as far as investors, unless they had a lot of cash liquidity and they are able to identify a couple of good opportunities, they'll jump on it. But for the most part, I think they're kind of waiting to see, if there's that good deal out there, that shiny unicorn, that shiny real estate unicorn, right?
Right, because there's no foreclosures right now. So
Right.
they're just going to have to wait a little bit longer.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I know my multifamily investors, they haven't slowed down. They're still moving and purchasing, and their deal flow it may have slowed down a little, but not that much.
Yeah.
Okay.
I concur.
I think it's important too, when this first started and, you know, you had your pipeline of houses that were under contract, I didn't lose one buyer. And this is early on in COVID when we first had to shelter in. I didn't lose one buyer. So that's a lot of confidence,
Wow.
I think, in our market here in the Metroplex.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think the overall feeling about the virus is that, or about our recovery, is that recovery will happen and will happen fast. We just don't know when, right? So because we don't know when the vaccine is going to be available for everybody. So everyone is pretty hopeful that there will be a quick recovery. It won't be like 2008, but we don't know when that recovery will begin.
Right. And I think
Thankfully enough, we have the government's help to help us along in that effort.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to add to that too, with solvency at the bank level versus what we saw in 2008, and none of those inherent lending institutional problems present in this situation. We really just have to get to a testing and vaccinating and confidence phase rather than systemic change. So we should come back pretty quickly.
Well, unfortunately, those lending practices just become so much more stringent because of 2007 and 08 and 09, that buyers are, they're in better positions today to be able to handle some of these financial difficulties. And then those buyers that are buying right now, they're, it's because of the low interest rates, they're able to buy that house they really want, but not go above what their budget really can allow. So they're able to get a little bit better buying power. So that's helpful.
Right. There's been some tightening up of the guidelines for what I would call overlays from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, COVID-19 overlays, and regarding, employment verifications and making sure that everyone is still employed 3 days before closing, and a lot of backroom, what I call backroom operations, have to happen now that didn't happen before. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and the self-employed borrower, of course, is highly scrutinized at this point.
Oh, yeah, I would imagine.
I don't like to hear that, Lisa.
I know. I don't like that myself. However, it is.
However.
Well, I want to thank you both for joining us today. This was really insightful, and I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're really busy right now, which is great.
It is great. Can I just have one more second? Because 30-year fixed rates today are between 3 and 3 1/8, and 15-year is about 2.5%. So those that did 30-year fixed rate mortgages, a year ago may have been at 4.25% interest rate. So they can maybe refinance into a 15-year now and really reduce the term of their loan and save a ton of money. That's what I've seen a lot of, moving people from 30 to 15.
Yeah, it's huge. And I think that's why, thank goodness that rates are where they are, because that's what's going to be our saving grace in a lot of this. And I know that we're all predicting that July and August are going to be just as big as last year's July and August, because a lot of those buyers that were looking in February, March, and April and postponed their search a little bit to kind of see what was happening, or just, make sure that they're were, they had job security. Those people still need a place to live. And so they're going to get out now, and we're already seeing an uptick on showings and in leads and leads generated and so forth within the last couple of weeks. So I think that DFW is going to be in a great position to maintain a healthy real estate market. And I think we're going to start to really just kind of see that maintain a healthy level so we can continue. I think overall we are going to see a drop from 2019. Everything can't stay great forever, but it doesn't mean we go from great to worse or terrible. We just go maybe to great to very good or still robust. So
we've all been preparing for a correction for a while, right? And this just sort of pushed it ahead of what everyone was thinking. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, it's funny because I was reading an article the other day about new construction builders in the US and seeing how they have been reacting and how they've positioned themselves. And if, because '08 was tough for new construction and our builders. And so it appears that they took a lot of takeaways and have really changed their balance sheets to help them be in a much healthier place in preparation for something like this. So January of this year, or February of this year versus February of last year, there were, let me look at my notes because it was a pretty interesting stat, but okay, so it was looking at January from 2008 versus January of the early 2000, or I'm sorry, January of this year, single family starts were down 40%. And so it's not that builders aren't doing well or still successful in what they're selling, but they've just been a little bit more strategic about where they're buying land, where they're closer to city center. They're much more cost effective in how they're pricing homes and so forth. So that's great news that the D.R. Hortons and the Syntex and the Pulte's and the big builders, big national builders are really done a good job in just making sure that they're going to be able to respond and stay afloat during a financial setback.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I heard actually some chatter recently about speculation that there may be a new resurgence in the popularity of suburbanism as a result of people wanting to be less exposed to the dangers of dense population. It could be knee-jerk, but it also may spark a trend if this virus takes a longer time to play out. Then you may see people taking that urban flight back out into the suburbs so they have a room and a fence between themselves and their neighbors. And if they see themselves in another long-term lockdown, they're maybe they've got themselves a little bit of breathing space. It'd be interesting to see how that sort of translates down the road.
Quincy, it's almost like you were in my brain. I actually
you don't want that.
It could be scary on both fronts. I have that in my notes because it is interesting. We're starting to see kind of, home buyers, what their ask and their expectations are in the next house start to shift a little bit. And, we can only be affected and have, by what we're currently living with and 5 weeks of quarantine. So, but larger pantries, kitchen, having some sort of flexible room space, a home office, those things that weren't important maybe 2 months ago, we're now seeing that they might have some importance. And then of course, just population density and having a backyard, having, your next door neighbor not on the same HVAC system and all of that. So people are starting to kind of rethink how they live in their space and how they're going to use it a little differently. So I agree with you, whether or not that is a long-term change, who knows? But as of now, we're already seeing that.
Well, and just demographically, I think Texas is one of the Texas is a state that has one of the largest population of Gen X and Gen Z. Is that right? So we're a young state here. So we are a state that's going to be looking for a family-friendly house, right?
Absolutely.
How does the first-time home or starter home market look for DFW currently? I'm not as familiar with single family.
Well, I mean, interest rates are definitely helping that, because what we were seeing is people were waiting a little bit longer to buy. Younger people in their 20s, they'd rather lease. They understand that they're probably, we live in a transient world. Nobody works for the same company for 50 years and gets the gold watch anymore, or it just doesn't happen as often. So most people in their right out of college, starting their lives, they understand that they're probably going to end up moving to a few different cities before they actually find out where they want to live and put down roots. So, but I think that because of the interest rates, we're going to start seeing those buyers that were holding off be able to take advantage, build up some appreciation over a 3-year period or a 4-year period, and know that they can still make a move if they need to. Because I think that's been the concern for them as well, is they don't want to be locked into a home and be house poor. And then if they get called off to find a great opportunity or fall in love with somebody on, the other side of the planet, that they aren't, going to be upside down on their house. And Lisa, you can probably bring some insight to that as well.
Yeah, I deal a lot with first-time buyers. I really like first-time buyers. And there's a couple of things that drive that market. One is first-time buyers are eligible for a 3% down payment. So that lower down payment helps them get into a property. The other thing that is available is there's some grant money from the state of Texas that will help first-time buyers with their down payment. That does not have to be repaid. There's several different types of down payment assistance programs. This one that I like best does not have to be repaid. So that really helps drive that market. When I'm meeting, and now we have Zoom call meetings with first-time buyers, and I'm really trying to get a picture of where they are now, where they want to go. And often the down payment piece is their obstacle. So when we can overcome that obstacle, they're in the market. And let me tell you, when you set them out in the market to look at property, they buy. So that's that first-time buyer. It's a vibrant market, I would say.
Can you tell us the name of that program, and is it unique to Texas, or do they have it in other states?
Well, every state does kind of have their own. This is called SETH, S-E-T-H, and there's different variations of that program. But that's the program I like best because it does not have to be repaid. You don't want to saddle someone down, just like Courtney said. If someone's moving away and they have a down payment assistance program that has to be paid out over 5 or 7 years, and they're year 3, they have to pay that money back. So that, to me, and that's not the better program for a first-time buyer, even though it might be less expensive program. But yeah, it's a great way to get first-time buyers in. But every state does have their own. City of Dallas has some sort of funds available. I'm not sure they have any right now, but in the good times they do. They have different types available. Yeah,
That would certainly be a channel for some of this federal assistance to flow back into to keep things humming along. I hope someone's looking at that in a higher office.
That, the SETH program from the state of Texas has never gone away. It never runs out of money. So that's another reason why I like it, because some of these programs, like on a local level, they may have money starting in October at the beginning of their budget, and November they're out. They're gone. That program is gone. So this is a self-funded program.
And one more question about that, because it's really interesting. Are you able to compound both the 3% first-time buyer benefit with the SETH grant funding? Can you use them simultaneously to move into a single-family home?
Yes, that's exactly what it does. It provides you with your down payment. So,
Oh, okay.
for instance, I quoted one yesterday, a 4% grant, so a 3% down payment plus 1% towards the closing costs, was an interest rate of 4%. You're going to pay a higher rate of interest for that money, but if someone wants to give you $8,000, then that's a good trade-off. That's a great trade-off. And so, yeah, the interest rate is higher on those programs. That's part of how they keep the money flowing.
What about hurdles as far as eligibility? I would imagine credit rating, job history, things of this nature. But are there other things that are gotchas within the program at all?
It's a standard underwriting process. There are hard income limits. Hard income limits in most areas. There are some areas that are in certain geocodes. Couldn't tell you where they are right now because they change. And so those programs will allow an expanded incomes. So you could have up to like $109,000 income and qualify for one of these programs.
Okay, great. And I would imagine for, a young person, and this is their first home, that maybe investing some money in a home might feel better to them after watching their parents' retirement shrink by 30 or 40% in the last couple of weeks.
Right. Yeah, we hope what goes down goes up again, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Really, real estate, I've been in this industry a very long time, and I've been through all the boom and busts, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 1999, all of them I've seen. This one's different, but they're all different.
Mm-hmm.
And through it all, real estate has always come back on top. And in our region, we didn't see prices dip in 2008 and 9 and 10 like they did in other areas of the country. California was massacred because they had such huge appreciation. So what went up so fast came down so fast. And ours has just sort of creeped up, a standard appreciation rate, I think, is what we've seen in the past, and I think that's what we're going to see in the future.
And going back to, Lisa, your earlier comment that the higher rate was going to still be 4%. I mean, that's unbelievable. I remember buying my first house when I was in college in Oklahoma, and I got 7.25, and I thought that was phenomenal.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty incredible. So, sometimes I'm working with clients and they're like, gosh, but I don't want 3.25, I want 3.15. And I'm just like, at this point, it's free money, just about. I mean, it's pretty incredible how, the gift we're being given right now as far as the low interest rates. And it won't always be that way. So it's nice that we can take advantage of it currently.
For sure. Yeah.
When we talk about way back in the past, I don't know, 60 days ago, seems so long ago now, was the trend in residential real estate being driven regionally, locally by some of the larger corporations that were planting seeds here in Dallas? I'm speaking specifically to the Uber regional office downtown, or maybe before that when Toyota moved HQ from California to this region. And I know there are other larger companies that are staking out territory in Dallas. And this is pre-COVID-19. Were you seeing evidence of that workforce transplanting into the area looking for homes, or were they venturing into the multifamily sector with those moves? And with that, do you see that trend maybe picking up where it left off once the all clear sounded?
Sure. And Quincy, for me, you're asking
both of you. I'd like input from both of you.
Okay.
Two experts.
So, it's in the DFW Metroplex, we're pretty blessed that we've got, you know, an industry. We're dependent on not just one or two industries. We are extremely diversified as far as what our local industry, and what's, you know, what brings people here in our population. So we do see a lot of growth due to major corporations moving here, but then we also see growth due to the fact that, you know, a lot of people in California, and a lot of people up in New York and even Florida, just the idea of being able to have, you know, the 3,000 square foot home and not be house poor, and to also have a backyard and not have an hour and a half worth of traffic every day, as long as they don't take 75, right? So, but, you know, there were a lot of reasons why people were migrating here, and it wasn't just because their company was bringing them here. It was a lot of reasons. It was just the ability to have quality of life at a much more affordable level, and then, you know, it's so we've seen a growth based upon many reasons. And as far as, you know, single family, or if they go multifamily, I mean, I would say for the most part, because our housing pricing is so affordable, they were able to get into the single family market, whereas maybe they were having to come from multifamily. And some of them were coming from, you know, 2 generations living in the same house or living in the same apartment. So it's, you know, I would say that our growth has been based upon many different factors, which I think is why it stayed pretty consistent, and it's been a healthy growth. Lisa, would you like to add?
Well, I agree with you. You know, pre-COVID-19, there was something like 10,000 people a month moving to the Metroplex. So all of the above is where they were living and what they were doing. Condominiums for a lot of condominium purchases for single people relocating here. But yes, those corporate moves, that drives the market. That's for sure. And we have a vibrant corporate relocation market here. So when this all settles down, we're going to see that ramp back up for sure.
That's exciting. It's sometimes easy to lose sight of all those driving factors when we're just looking at the problem in front of us. But. Right.
Well, and you know, I've had a lot of clients from New York, and apparently, I don't know this firsthand, but apparently New York changed their income tax structure, their state income tax structure. And for people with sizable money, that it had a great impact. And so they're now Texans. Born again Texans.
Oh yeah, my brother-in-law and they've moved down to Waco from New York. They're renting a house and looking to buy. So I personally know someone that's done that.
And I have a friend that lives in Manhattan right now, but he's been here for the last month, and he's already trying to figure out his move to Dallas. So I think, you know, it's happening a lot more than what we're just seeing. But I know individually, you know, just between us, we all have an experience with somebody who is looking to make that move.
Yeah, so. Left the day before they weren't going to be able to leave.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll probably see a lot of migration from New York out of Manhattan to other places for sure.
Yeah, I think that COVID is definitely going to have an impact upon the Manhattan population and major cities like that.
I think California too. I know a lot of people that split their time between Texas and California, and I wonder how that will impact that kind of worker as well, if they're going to be transitioning back and forth or just planning to stay here.
Yeah.
Yet to be determined, I think.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Very interesting. Now we just need that time machine so we can jump ahead and see how well we speculated.
Magic time machine, that's for sure. That's for sure. I think we're all going to be okay.
I think so too.
I could just figure out what day it is.
I mean, I feel like it's always wine 30, so I don't know. It doesn't matter what day it is.
Yeah.
That's definitely what time it is.
Am I wearing pants? I don't know.
That's so awesome. I'm impressed.
Well, is there anything else that either of you would like to add?
I think just call me for a new house and call Lisa for a loan.
Okay.
We
Well,
can
I
make that
appreciate you. I appreciate you both taking the time to talk with us today. I'd like to give Quincy a few moments to talk about our webinar that's coming up on Friday.
Right. Okay. So coming up on Friday, I'll be wearing my solar development hat and talking to those of you out there in the commercial markets, looking at ways to keep costs under control while you figure out the next phase of your post-COVID existence. There's probably some healthy speculation that this trend at staying at home and working from home may drive down the already burdened commercial real estate market with respect to office space, and we want to try to help lend our talents to those property owners that may have overlooked some of the easier or maybe even tougher renovations that they could make to their property with respect to energy efficiency. And of course, we'll bring PACE into that discussion because it is, I think, an important finance tool that needs to be looked at closer to home here. And yeah, that's where we'll plant our flag and see where it takes us.
That's an interesting subject. I've talked to a couple of business owners who have bought houses during COVID-19, and they said, you know, we didn't know that we could run our businesses out of effectively at home. And that's a big takeaway, I think, that they've been able to do it effectively and their employees are a little bit happier about it. We'll see if they're still happy after COVID-19, but
depends how many kids and on their spouse, right?
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll see how long that lasts, right?
Yeah, there's some of us working from home that would really like to get further away from that refrigerator than we are right now. It's been tough there too.
I know. I joke that my son has bypassed the freshman 15 and working on his COVID-19.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that my 5-year-old is still taking naps. We'll see how long that lasts. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I will make sure that the notes for today are made available and the slides, and I will find a way to connect everyone that would like to be connected. I know we're all on LinkedIn, but I will make email addresses available to anyone that would like them so that we can try to make this hopefully a true networking experience and informative as well. You guys were very insightful. I appreciate the information and the time today.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you for the invite.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Everyone stay safe.
Stay safe.
Yes.